Hi, this is Vanelia from SAS Sew and Sew Sewing. I'm in my sewing studio today all by myself. We all understand why. But there's lots of you that would like to start sewing, and you probably want to know, what do I need to start? So I'm going to go over some of the essential items that you need. And you may already have some, but if you don't have any of these, this is by Dritz, and it is called Start to Sew Kit. There's lots of different sewing kits, but this one actually I think is the best one for beginners. You're going to get all the essentials that you need to start sewing with. And once again, it's by Dritz, and it's called Start to Sew Kit. And we'll go over the different items that are in it. These are the items that are inside the Dritz sewing kit. There's actually 12 items. One of the items is scissors or shears. They're 7 inches. These should only be used as your sewing scissors. You don't want to use them for cutting paper and other items. You want to keep them specifically for your sewing projects, your fabric, tissue paper that comes in your commercial patterns. But that's all thread, of course. Those are the only items you really want to cut with these scissors. Also, you're going to have a 60-inch measuring tape. Measuring is something that's very vital while you sew. It's a non-stretch measuring tape. It has inches on one side and it has metrics on the other side. Also, you have sewing needles. Of course, going to start sewing, you need sewing needles. So these are sewing needles for hand sewing. And there is a thimble, which is excellent for protecting your fingertip from getting pricks, little nicks when you're doing your hand sewing. Also, we have a needle threader. This little small item is used to help you thread the eye of a needle. So if you have challenges in getting that thread through that small little hole in the needle, that's what this is for. Also, we have a pin cushion. I don't know whether this is called a tomato or strawberry, but it's a pin cushion. It's used for you to stick your pins in and hold them, and it has pins that comes in the kit as well. And this little baby strawberry or tomato, whichever one it is, on the side is used to sharpen your pins. So when your pins are dull, you just stick them in this little, like that, and you sharpen your pins. Next, we have a tracing wheel and tracing paper. They both come in the kit as well. This is used to mark darts, buttonholes, pleats, other items like that while you're sewing. We also have a marking pencil. You use it the same way you would use a pencil. This is also for marking items such as buttonholes and pleats, hems, different items that you want to use. You can use a pencil. Then we have our seam ripper. This is going to become like your best friend. All the years I've been sewing, I don't think I've ever not used this whenever I've been making something. The seam ripper is used to cut stitches, little boo-boos, to release them. It's very easy to use the seam ripper. One of the things I like to say is when you have a little problem, just keep calm and grab the seam ripper. Next, we have a sewing gauge. This is 6 inches long, and it has quarter markings, 16th markings, 8th markings, and a little gauge that slides up and down. So if you are marking like a hem, or you're making adjustments to a garment and you want it to be maybe an inch, you have that there, and you can use this as a gauge. Also helps in marking pleats and other items like that. But because it's only 6 inches, it can be used more readily sometimes for something short, as opposed to using your measuring tape. So these are the different items that come in the kit. These are your essential basic things for sewing. And I'll go into some other things that are non-essentials but very helpful, but this is what comes in your Dritz sewing kit. These are some additional items that are going to be very useful in sewing. One that is very important is an iron. You're going to need an iron. It's going to make the difference in whether your clothes or your garments are going to look professional or not. So this is just a basic steam iron, which will work fine. Next, we have an iron shoe. Who knew that irons have shoes? But that's what this is called. It's called an iron shoe. And it goes over the plate of your iron. And it is excellent in regards to keeping you from having an iron that might be too hot and scorching a garment that may be polyester or silk or rayon. So I use this iron shoe all the time. And you can find this in fabric stores. You can also order online. It's called an iron shoe. Next, we have a point turner. And it does exactly what it's called. It helps you when you're having something like a collar that's pointed and you turn it inside out and you really want to get that point nice and pointed. You would simply put this in. It helps you push that out so that you can have a nice sharp looking point. It's better than using something like scissors or something like that where you might accidentally cut your garment. So this is called a point turner. Next, we have something called a bodkin. That's B-O-D-K-I-N, bodkin. And this is used for helping you pull elastic, cord, or string through either a waistline, a sleeve, cuff, or a casing. Sometimes people use safety pins, which you can do, but they may open on you while you're pulling it through, and that can be very annoying. So a bodkin is a much better tool to use. It's sort of like tweezers, the opening, and you would just put your elastic or your string or your cord, and you would just clamp down on it to hold it, and then it has a ring that'll just slide down and tighten. And then your elastic or your cord or your thread would be inside of that. And then you would use this to pull the elastic through maybe a waistband, or if you're having a casing that you want to pull string or cord through, this would help you to be able to pull that through. You'll find it far more useful than a safety pin. Once again, this is called a bodkin. Next, one of the items that's very helpful is a cardboard. It's actually, you could call it a cutting board, or it's actually called a sewing and craft project board. And this unfolds. This one is by Singer, and it is 33 inches wide and 56 inches long. And you can put this over the top of a table, and you can use it on the floor if you like, if you can get down like that. But you can just unfold this and use it on a table. You can put your fabric laid out on it, your pattern, commercial pattern tissue paper on it, and use it. It also has 1-inch measurements, squares on it. It has bias lines. It will make it a lot easier with the grids. And it's lightweight, collapsible, doesn't take up a lot of space. So this is another item that is very helpful. They do come longer, and I think there's other brands besides Singer, but this is a collapsible sewing board. There's another 2 items that I think are very helpful. I don't know if people would consider these sewing items, but I find that they're essential for me. And that is a pencil and paper, because I'm usually taking notes with things that I'm adjusting, and I can't keep all those measurements in my head, or if I'm adding things up, I need to remember what the figures come to. And so I find that a pencil and a notebook are also very helpful in sewing. So these are not all the items that you could use in sewing, but I think you have the essentials and you're ready to get started with these items. So I hope that this has been helpful, and if you think it has, I really would appreciate it if you would like it below.